Good evening, everyone. Before I call the meeting to order, I'd like to express regrets from Councillor Goulet, who's away, and also we have Councillor Runge joining us on Zoom. Before we get into the business of our agenda, I would just like to make a statement here. The City of Quesnel is profoundly impacted and saddened by the tragic events that occurred in Tumbler Ridge 1 week ago today. We stand united with communities across Canada and, indeed, around the world in mourning such an immense and senseless loss. We stand fully committed to supporting our neighbors in every way we can at this most difficult time. On behalf of Quesnel City Council and the citizens of Quesnel, we extend our deepest thoughts and prayers to everyone affected, to the people of Tumbler Ridge and area, to the families, first responders, our elected colleagues, the Mayor and Council of the District of Tumbler Ridge, and Peace River South Board of Education and other governments. I now ask that together we remember and honor them in a moment of solemn silence. Thank you. And I will now recognize any council members who may wish to exercise their option to add their own thoughts and their own to our solemn tribute. Go ahead, Councillor Rudenberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for those words. I came across a poem online by a person called Shane Koskin, and it's entitled Small Town, and he wrote it for the community of Tumbler Ridge. Grief in a small town has no corners to hide in. It sits at every kitchen table like the last slice of something that everyone has suddenly lost their appetites for. The first siren must have sounded like a mistake. The others were cacophony, a smashed piggy bank where the coins all shone like stunned eyes looking for a reason why. As if even the most concise answer could make anyone understand. Even time seems to bow under the weight of children's names spoken in past tense. Small towns endure a lot. They feel the slow ache of industries leaving, so their strength comes from each other, from everyone knowing everyone else. They will remember the student who always brought extra pencils in case a classmate needed one, the parent who braided their child's hair for the last time that morning. They will remember in the way they refuse to let this be the loudest thing about them or the big thing that defines the small town they all love.
Thank you, Councillor Rudenberg. Anyone else? Okay, thank you for that. Okay, now moving into the business of our meeting, I would like to get a motion to approve the agenda as it has been circulated, moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Vick. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Adoption of the regular minutes of the council meeting held February 3, 2026. Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Elliott. In favor, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have a presentation from BC Transit. Iris Brown is joining us on Zoom. Iris is the Government Relations Manager for BC Transit. So Iris, the floor is yours. And just a note that Council does have your presentation in hard copy as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Just a moment. Thank you, Council, for having me this evening. My name is Iris Brown, and I'm the Government Relations Manager for the North Region with BC Transit. Before I dive into the presentation, I'd like to acknowledge that I join you today from Victoria, BC, and that BC Transit delivers our mission on the ancestral territories of the Indigenous people across British Columbia, and their historical relationships with the land continues to this day. As mentioned, I'm the new Government Relations Manager for the North, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to meet with you and to support transit services in your community. I've been with BC Transit since 2017, and I joined the team in mid-January. As Government Relations Manager for the North, I'm the key liaison between BC Transit and the local government partners, and I'm supported by subject matter experts at BC Transit. I look forward to work closely with municipal staff to ensure they have the information they need to make informed decisions on transit-related matters. It has been a while since BC Transit has met with the Cornell Council, and so I'd like to take this opportunity to provide an overview of the partnership model, then take a look at the Cornell Transit system and provide some updates of BC Transit's initiatives. As part of the overview, it's helpful to look at the BC Transit partnership model. The province sets the provincial policies and provides oversight of the programs. This model also shows that BC Transit acts as the intermediary between the province and local government partners. We provide access to in-house shared services, supporting the delivery of safe, reliable, and efficient transit within your community. The local government partner plays a critical role. They set the transit priorities and routes, determine service levels and fares, and approve the annual budget. It's a three-way partnership between the province, BC Transit, and local government partners.
Could I interrupt you just one moment? Are you at liberty to share your screen?
Oh, I thought I did. I'm sorry. Give me just a moment here. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
My apologies. I was going to jump back very quick to the previous one. This is the partnership model. As you see here, BC Transit is providing access to shared services, supported by subject matter experts, and then you as the local government partners are critical in this process to set priorities in regards to transit routes, determine service levels and fares, and approve annual budget. And BC Transit operates through a shared cost partnership model between the province of British Columbia and local governments. For conventional transit service, as you say here, the province contributes approximately 52% of the total shared cost, and the municipal share is 48%. This combines a fare and advertising revenue as well as property taxes, which cover the municipal share. Custom Transit also follows a shared cost model, but with a different split. The province covers around 67%, and the municipal share is 33%. Please note that local governments retain 100% of their fare and advertising revenue. After we looked at this fare and partnership model, I'd like to provide a quick overview of the Cornell Transit system. So the system operates 6 days a week and provides bus services to the city of Cornell and surrounding areas of the Caribou Regional District, including the electoral areas A, B, C, and I. Cornell also offers door-to-door handy dart service for people unable to use fixed routes. The Route 1 serves the West Cornell neighborhood, connecting it with the central Cornell areas. The Route 2 serves the Red Bluff area south of Cornell and provides service into the Carson subdivision and South Hills. The third route covers the North Fraser corridor, serving communities located north of the Fraser River and connecting them again with like downtown Cornell. Cornell also provides transit service between Cornell and Wells via the Route 30th, and Route 31 connects Cornell with the rural community of Nassau. This is a short snapshot of the annual performance report BC Transit usually shares with like local government at the end of the fiscal year. So the new one will be coming up soon. And at this point, we're looking at the assessment in regards to 3 categories. We're looking at the local investments, system performance, and return on investment. Your system is performing really well. Revenue per trip has increased compared to the previous years. Operating cost per passenger has remained under budget, and the total revenue has risen, supported by continued growth in ridership. In regards to ridership, we actually saw 3% increase of passenger trips from the previous fiscal year. So we had like in the previous year, 83,300 passenger trips, and this last fiscal year, 85,800 passenger trips. BC Transit uses the revenue-based model to calculate the ridership. This is a QDAT standard for calculating ridership. We have other tools at our disposal, like UMO and APC data, and are starting now to refine our ridership numbers with this. Now I'd like to, after we reviewed the partnership model and the Cornell transit system, I'd like to provide a couple updates related to the transit system in Cornell. The first one is that BC Transit's planning team plans to start a service review this summer. This will be a structured and comprehensive planning process that evaluates the current system, the routes, and the service levels, with the goal of identifying opportunities to improve efficiencies and effectiveness. Once an analysis is completed, BC Transit will bring forward service options to the local government partner and to council. The service review will include several components: a community demographics, transit system analysis, public and stakeholder engagement, and then there will be developed service options, which we bring to council, and they will review and evaluate these proposed options. And at the end, they will make the decision, so you will make the decision regarding service priorities and levels. The goal of the service review is to meet the needs of the community, identify gaps, inefficiencies, and opportunities for improvement, and align transit planning with the provincial and community transportation goals. So as I already hinted to, the goal would be to start this in the summer, and then the plan would be to present the recommendations the following year. Another BC Transit initiative which we started to conduct is a fare review in collaboration with the municipal staff. The last fare review for Cornell Transit was quite a while ago. It was in 2010. A fare review is a formal multi-step process that evaluates whether current transit fares are affordable, easy to understand, and financially sustainable. BC Transit's team will develop and present fare recommendations to council, and the fare changes will be at the end a decision to the council with the information we're providing. We're looking at the timelines to bring this the recommendation to council in April this year, with the goal to implement any changes, if there are any, in July. At the end, I would like to conclude my presentation to highlight 2 additional corporate initiatives. The first one is the transition away from medium-duty vehicles towards a fleet composed of both light-duty and heavy-duty vehicles. BC Transit announced this shift in last year, and the decision was made after a detailed review of the medium-duty fleet and market conditions. It was determined that medium-duty buses are no longer sustainable or a viable option due to limited availability and long-term reliability concerns. Cornell has currently 2 medium vehicles, and the fleet team currently works together with the municipal staff to work on a transition plan. Last but not least, the last initiative I wanted to bring forward is the implementation of a new custom transit solution in partnership with Sphere to modernize custom transit service. This project will create one provincial platform for our custom transit riders, and it provides improved dispatching and day-to-day operations, enhanced customer experience, including online registration, trip management, and real-time updates, as well as clearer information and better access for caregivers and appointed delegates. This solution will modernize operations and ridership experience. And with that, I'd like to thank Council for your time, and I look forward to working with you.
Okay, thank you for that. Now I'm going to open up the floor for any questions or comments from council members. Councillor Vic.
Thank you. Hello, Iris.
Hi.
Thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. It's very much appreciated. As you mentioned, it's been some time since we've had a discussion with BC Transit. I have a couple of questions. I hope you'll indulge me. The first is, as you mentioned, it's been some time since a fare review has been done, and I'm wondering if there's some, if there's a legislative component to this, or if there's a way to a degree to automate this so that fares can be adjusted maybe according to CPI or some other matrix for cost increases, rather than leaving it for, I believe you said 2010 was the last time the fare review was done?
That's correct, yeah.
I believe that's far too long, especially considering inflationary pressures on budgets and the real cost of delivering the service. So I just wanted to ask you, is there a way to entrench in an agreement that fares can automatically increase, or at least there's a trigger that compels the discussion on a regular basis?
Thank you for that input. I would not be able to speak to that. That being said, I'm happy to connect with the team and see what's out there in regards to if there are any agreements or if we can set something up so we do that more frequently in the future.
Okay, thank you. And the next question I have is, you made a mention that some of the equipment that we currently use in our BC Transit fleet is being phased out, the medium-duty vehicles. Can you, I don't know if the modeling, if you can comment on the modeling for cost change, but you have some really great numbers in terms of operating costs per passenger and operating costs per service hour. Can you estimate if we're to swap out our equipment to either larger buses or smaller buses, what kind of impact may that have on operating costs per service hour?
It's a to my understanding, there will be maybe like a slight increase in the lease fees. That being said, the current medium vehicle, like the medium duty vehicle buses, have maintenance issues where we basically have increased maintenance costs, which would be a replacement lower.
Sorry, so you said the cost will be lower to operate different fleets?
Lower or just slightly higher. In regards to, we think it could offset each other in regards to the currently maintenance cost from the medium duty buses with the new replaced buses we would implement in the system.
Okay, thank you. And my final question, and thank you for indulging me, is in terms of the operating cost per service hour data you've provided and the operating cost per passenger trip, I see that we've performed better than budget. Do you know how those numbers compare to other communities that have similar operating models to Quesnel?
Yeah, so as you can see there, sometimes we put together some tiers where we compare it to other systems, but it's not the comparison of apple to apple as each system is very unique. So it's very hard to compare it to other transit systems.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vic. Now I'm going to go to Councillor Runge.
Thank you. Iris, thanks for the report. I'm really happy to see you here because I do have some questions sometimes for this review. I'm happy to see that we're going to have a review. I hope that, July and August is always a horrible time for reviews for both the city and for the public as it's holiday time. Is there any option for the public or the city to request some things or put some questions to you prior to that?
For the service review?
Yeah.
So anytime really anything can be shared with me directly, and I can put it to our planning team. And then we will also in our timelines have a public engagement as well as a survey and open house. And there are different ways to also have stakeholder engagements to really gauge all the, to include every key stakeholder.
Yeah, I appreciate that because, I was going to use the bus this year for a number of my students at the school here, and I was shocked, actually. I'm here at Coraloo, so I'm on the west side on route number 1, I believe, and to get to the college was an hour and 15 minutes during lunch, and it was just, I thought, oh, what we're really missing here is an express bus that maybe goes 3 times a day, once in the morning to get people to work, once in the afternoon to get them home, and once maybe at lunch to move people around, that comes from the west side directly through downtown and up to the north, which is about a 20-minute drive with a couple stops, would just make it actually a service that's much more, beneficial to, I think, a lot of people. So I'm really happy to hear it, kind of like a Route 1-2 express bus is what I'm thinking. So I'll touch base with you later because I really think that would benefit a lot of people here in town. And my other question, thank you, Councillor Vic, you brought it up. I was wondering how we compare to other communities. So thank you very much. I do appreciate the review option and you coming to our council.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Runge. Anyone else? I have maybe a cross between a question and a comment. I never see any statistic, and I've raised this point before, that speaks to how many or what percentage of the seats in the overall system are actually occupied. And I have to ask that question because it seems like the passenger numbers aren't going up proportionately to the size of the equipment. Could you comment on that, please?
So as I mentioned, we're currently using a revenue-based model, which is like the CUDA standard model to calculate ridership. And we're using now the new data, like from UMO and APC, to refine our ridership numbers. But we're early stages, and it will take some time because we're using this right now as trends in regard to ridership to make it comparable.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll probably be asking the same question next year. So is there any further questioning or comment from council or anyone on staff at this point? Okay, well, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you again for your presentation, and we'll allow you to move along. And at this point, I'd like to on behalf of council and staff, I would like to thank our local government intern, Denae Meise, for her time with the City of Quesnel. And Denae, would you mind just putting on your microphone there so everybody can, out there in virtual land, there you are. Thank you. Denae started her internship last May, partially funded through Northern Development Initiative Trust. The program gives post-secondary graduates an immersive experience in local government, and some of Denae's key accomplishments include the following: working with economic development on various projects, including a digital art tour guide, Love Quesnel platform change, which grew followers by nearly 400%. Yes, 400%. Updating our child care inventory and research to support an industrial land inventory. Providing administrative support to legislative services for the Policy and Bylaw Committee and preparing consolidated bylaws. working with the city manager to research, prepare, and present council with a 10-year progress report on local actions related to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls to action. Working with Public Works to document procedures and preparing and submitting grant applications valued at over $250,000. Denae, thank you again for all your work, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and your time with us has prepared you well for a bright future in a local government career. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving ahead with the, find my agenda here. We have no items arising from previous special closed meetings. Now we will move into reports, and we have a committee report number, I don't see a number here for this one. It's January 28th, Financial Sustainability and Audit Committee Chair Summary. Councillor Vic to report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as you said, this is a review of our meeting we held on January 28th. Obviously, the big topic was the operating budget, but just the way our timing works with our reporting, we did review our final look at the capital budget, which was actually ratified on February 3rd. So a lot of that time at the meeting was obviously taking I believe it was the third pass at our operating budget. And again, we're in the context of our current economic challenges, we're very mindful of our industrial partners and the pressure they're under. So that's one of the lenses we sort of looked at this budget under. The package of the budget that we analyzed on the 28th incorporates decisions made by the committee and council up to that point, which was about $600,000 in cuts to our budget, thereby limiting our total tax increase to 2.5%. So that was the final number. The original status quo budget that was tabled weeks before was approximately 5%. And then through drafts and careful analysis, we did come up with a final work percentage of 2.5%. And that does include a supplemental request for watch clerks for the RCMP detachment, which we'll discuss a little later. Public safety has been a major focus of council, and implementing the watch clerk program will transfer some of the administrative burden from uniformed members to civilian employees, increasing our community engagement and presence on patrol. Another item of discussion pertained to the allocation of penalties received for late payment from industrial properties in 2025, and the committee agreed that this late payment revenue should be directed back to the class that paid it, in this case the industrial class, and that would reduce industrial taxation for the 2026 year. And this is included in the recommendation option for the final split for taxation between the classes. The committee was advised that, the committee was advised that assessments will be received at the end of March, which will determine the final tax rate increases for each property class. In terms of the Finance Department update, it's no surprise to learn that the Finance Department is very busy preparing for year end and also sending out invoices for utilities and various other challenges, and we thank them for their continued hard work. In terms of spending issues, we were presented with one issue, which was the Hudson Bay building furnaces have failed and required replacement, and that cost was about $20,000. We'll find out exactly where that cost landed, but that was the estimate. And for recommendations, these are only for reference, as our operational budget will come before council tonight, later on. So for reference only, we're recommending council to proceed with capital projects, which of course has already happened. And then in terms of the operating budget, we're recommending to council that we ratify and approve the operating budget with a total tax increase of 2.5%. And I'm sure I have a chance to say thank you to Director Bolton and her team, and of course all the directors who contributed to a very arduous operating budget session. It was very challenging, but I believe we've made the right decisions to advance the community, especially considering the challenging times we're facing right now. I think it was a prudent budget and very well constructed and well consulted. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vic. Any questions? Thank you, and to staff and to FSAC. Well done. Thank you. Okay, the next item is committee report, January 29, Accessibility Committee Chair Summary. Councillor Runge to report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on a lighter note, I guess, the purpose of this report is to provide council with the highlights from our most recent Accessibility Committee meeting. So we discussed a few different topics, one of the biggest ones being reconfirmation of the committee members. And we will have a recommendation below to confirm Christine McCann, Shelby Copen, Colleen Gauthier, Lana Johnson, Susan McNeil, Jacqueline Weldon, Lorraine Wetsky, and Melody McDonald, Lisa Bow, and Sherry Swan to the committee. That recommendation will come in a little bit later. We also looked at our priorities for next, let's say, until elections, I think. So we tried to keep it within the scope of what we could do. So we looked at one of our priorities, looking at business recognition, and we discussed the opportunity for the city to recognize businesses that have demonstrated improvement in accessibility or that already operate as accessible businesses. And the committee agreed that staff should engage with local BIAs or business associations and the Chamber of Commerce to explore the potential recognition initiatives. Those may include letters of support for accessibility-related goals and grant applications, inclusion in the Chamber of Commerce's annual Business Excellence Awards, highlighting grants available to businesses on a city's website, collecting feedback, and identifying additional opportunities through surveys. We also looked at some hearing impaired resources. Closed captioning was what came to mind. Staff provided the Accessibility Committee with an update about closed captioning. Staff are working with the communications team to investigate adding subtitles to the City Council meeting videos on YouTube, and if feasible, they will be added on an ongoing basis. We also talked about public service and emergency notifications, discussing how we could have more options for the possibility of including closed captioning or sign language interpreter when communicating about emergencies. If, hopefully the unlikely event the city should ever go into a state of local emergency. We also had some discussions about transit and handy dart service. We discussed investigating options for increased route signage, a route review, which we heard about tonight, which is great, and a review of the handy dart hours of operation. We also spoke about the National Accessibility Week promotion. National Accessibility Week is actually going to come upon us fairly quickly, May 25th to May 31st this year. And we discussed continuing with the Accessibility Week promotion. We'll start to review options for the survey. We want to make sure that the survey is giving us information that we can use for grants in the future also. And community engagement with the Quesnel Downtown Association, Farmers Markets, and Children's Festival. We also looked at grant reviews and funding opportunities. We discussed the importance of maintaining a list of grants that are available and making that list available on the city website so that even if the city can't go for it, maybe there's some businesses or some nonprofits that can use it. Current grant opportunities that we're looking at. The Grant Accessibility Committee discussed the availability of a grant that would support improvements to the seating and rest areas along the Riverfront Trail. and there's the 2026 Age-Friendly Communities Grant administered by BC Health Communities in partnership with BC Ministry of Health, provides funding to local and Indigenous governments to enhance seniors' independence, inclusion, and overall well-being. And under funding stream 2, the city may apply for up to $15,000 to implement specific age-friendly actions. The committee asked staff to research the grant to gain more insight and to potentially fund a project. And we did have an update since the meeting. Staff have reviewed the grant option, and although funding is possible, have decided to offer support to community stakeholder groups if they would like to apply for program-specific funding to enhance age-friendly initiatives. So my only recommendation on this, hopefully council agrees with it, is that the Accessibility Committee confirms committee membership and recommends to Quesnel City Council the revised Accessibility Committee terms of reference for approval. That terms of reference was included with your package and has just been taken off my screen here. So I think you have it in your package. So hopefully we can get it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Runge. It is duly moved by you and seconded by Councillor Vic. That recommendation is basically to confirm the committee members and to approve the revised terms of reference. So is there any discussion on that? Are we all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you for that, Councillor Runge. The next item is Staff Report, Admin Report 25/26, Presentation of the 2026 Operating Budget. Director Bolton to report.
Thank you very much. So first, we're going to start off with a budget presentation just to give an overview of the whole budget, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the report and recommendations. So I'll just let Budget 2026. So first of all, this year we did a budget survey again, and we got over 500 participants, so that was a lot more than previous years, so it was nice to see the people get out and give their input. And very similar to other years, the large majority of the people were very satisfied or somewhat satisfied with the city services, so that's always good to know. We took a look at the surveys and kind of tried to categorize the top themes that we heard from people. So the top themes in the budget survey were public safety, homelessness, and drugs, roads, snow bridges, and core infrastructure, cutting back on flowers and non-essential beautification, management wages and staff efficiency, permits, development, housing, and taxes, fleet equipment, and operational productivity. And through our budget process, most of these topics were touched on in one way or another as we work through all these various themes that the city is approaching through their strategic plan. So once again, we asked kind of what the priority services were, and it's the protective services, snow clearing, roads, all the ones we hear every year that are so important to the citizens of our community. And then I also put a picture in here of our major capital infrastructure this year. This is the project that is taking up the most of our budget this year for capital, and it'll be a high priority this summer. The next page just outlines the process that we go through every year. So we start in the fall with the departments coming up with their budgets. They send them into the finance department that reviews them. And then in January, we go out to the public and ask them for their input. And then we start reviewing both the operating plan and the capital budget with our finance committee. And once they have gone through it, and sometimes they go through it a couple times, as Councillor Vic mentioned, and then when they're ready, they recommend it to council. So capital came to the last meeting, and tonight the operating budget comes. After that, we still need to wait for final assessments, which will determine our final tax rates, and we'll have to bring the 5-year financial plan bylaw and the tax rate bylaw to council for approval before May 15th. So the community charter is what sets out the legislation for our budget process. So section 165 states that the city is required to adopt a 5-year financial plan and what it must include. And section 197 requires council to impose the property taxes by bylaw before May 15th. So where we started this year, so in our 2025 5-year financial plan, when we were looking at 2026, it had, we thought would be what would be a 6% increase. But of course, as Councillor Mitch mentioned, council recognized the challenges facing the city's industrial sector when giving direction for the budget, and we looked at ways that we could bring this down. So we started at 6%, and then one of the things we did was we're going to delay the increase to the capital reserve that was recommended by the Master Infrastructure Plan by year. Then we made some cuts late in 2025, and we've got some more cuts that we're implementing this year. But we also looked at adding watch clerks, as mentioned, to help our public safety focus. So that brought us to a proposed average tax increase for residents and commercial of 2.5%. So major industry. So again, one of the things council is looking at is how much our major industry is facing, what challenges they're facing right now. And our city is one of the most heavily dependent municipalities on major industry for property taxation. So last year, 53% of the property taxation collected from the city, for the city, came from major industry. So I've listed some of the other industry towns there, and you can see how much they get from industry. So Kitimat, Tumbler Ridge, Trail, Logan Lake. And then I also listed our neighbors, and you can see they're not nearly as heavily reliant on heavy industry as we are. So Prince George at 14%, Williams Lake at 20%, and 100 Mile at 15%. So recognizing those challenges being faced by major industry, we've included in the budget package the consideration of an adjustment of 3% reduction to major industry. So this is using penalty payments that we received from industry last year in 2025 to reduce their taxation in 2026. So as always, the city has limited options when trying to balance its budget. It can raise taxes, it can cut services, we can delay capital projects, and then of course our long-term strategy is always to grow the tax base, but that requires attracting investment and attracting residents, always a focus for us. Our risks to the budget stay similar to previous years. Of course, the continuing threat of tariffs and the possible effects on the city's major industry supply chains and inflations is ongoing. Contractors' availability always continues to be a challenge. Cost increases on external contracts, downloading from higher levels of government, and of course, our infrastructure needs are ongoing. So then I've just given a summary of our city services that would come from our general fund. So this is our largest fund where most of our services are funded from. So of course, police, community policing, victim services, the fire department, bylaw, roads, sidewalks, snow removal, parks. Animal control, I do have the contract with the SPCA, which we do have, they are continuing for 6 months until June 30th, and then we will have to see what happens. We have solid waste management, storm drain management, planning and development, ECDEB, parks and cultural services, and more. So as you can see, our general fund is $27 million, with 78% of that money coming from general taxation. And then, of course, we also get grants and licenses and fees and investment income. And that most of that goes to funding services, some to debt payments, and then a lot to our capital and reserves. 14% goes to capital for future projects. The next chart shows our operating expenses, and as you can see, the RCMP is the biggest chunk at 25% of our operating expenses, and then Public Works makes another 20% if you add them all together, and then you can see all the other various departments on there. We also have a variety of other funds, transit fund, as we heard about tonight, airport fund, solid waste fund, forestry initiatives, our water and our sewer utilities, and our capital funds. So the next one, the capital budget, just our major projects for the next 5 years. So of course, the Johnson Bridge renovation at $15 million is our largest project on the books right now, and a large part of that is coming from grants, from the Strategic Priorities Fund grant and the Growing Communities grant. We also have some major road projects coming up on Callahan, Webster, North Fraser, Feege, and McLean, all within the next 5 years. We also have in the 5-year budget the RCMP building renovation, and we're currently looking at potential design and costs, and if this goes forward, it will require elector assent because we would have to go to debt to fund the building. I've also listed there that water treatment is a potential future capital project, but we don't currently have it in the budget, and it would be intended to seek grants for that project. I've given a summary of our debt as of the end of 2024, just so that everyone can see our the fire truck, City Hall, and Public Works, and then equipment financing is how we fund some of our mobile fleet. So our total debt at the end of last year of $12 million. Then I just gave an overview of taxation, a reminder of taxation overview. So this is just a reminder that Your assessment, depending on how your assessment moves to how the average in the community moves, is how your property taxes will move. So if your assessment goes higher than, your assessment increases higher than the average increase, which this year was 3%, then your taxes are going to go up higher than what council has said the tax increase would be. If your assessment went up 3%, then the 2.5 tax increase is what you'll approximately receive. And if your assessment drops or is lower than the average increase, then your property taxes are likely to go down or lower. Of course, the city's taxes, which you'll see on the next page, are only 49% of the tax bill. And that's all we are able to speak to at this point because we don't have the tax rates from the other taxing partners yet. We'll get those in mostly mid-April. We get the rest of them. As you can see, the CRD, the hospital district, provincial government, and then the Municipal Finance Corporation make up the rest of the property tax bill that you'll receive. So then I gave just a summary of the proposed tax increase included in the package. So it was a proposed increase of 2.5%. So we had a few new items, so mainly the watch clerks for the RCMP. We also had inflation and other cost increases that increased our budget, and then we implemented $635,000 worth of cuts, bringing our budget increase down to 2.5%. And then the proposal for the reduction for major industry property class only would reduce their taxes by $330,000, bringing the total tax increase down to 1%. So that equates to $34.04 for the average house, or $9.20 per 100,000, and $40 per 100,000 for commercial and light industry. And again, this is just the municipal portion. We haven't got the other rates yet. So then I just gave a summary there of what the average house would look like that's gone up in 3.3% in assessment, and their taxes would go up. It's 2.5%. There's a little rounding error, and until we get the final assessments, that's when the final number will be there, but it's approximately 2.5%. So then I just gave a summary to our neighbors, so you can see our total taxes are $4,000 compared to Williams Lake at $4,270, Prince George, Smithers, and 100 Mile are all there. This is for last year, for 2025. We get these stats from the province each year, so we can see how we compare to all the other municipalities on a representative house. So that is the presentation. If we can take any questions on that, and then we can jump into the details.
Okay, Council, questions, comments before we move on to the next item under operating budget? Councillor, I'm sorry, Councillor Elliott.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the hard work on this. And it's not so much a question, but just maybe I'm going to take a second and try and explain, and please correct me if I'm wrong, about the watch clerks. So we basically got 4 RCMP per shift. And what's happening right now, as compared to a lot of other communities, we understand now, is that our crews have to do all of their paperwork, and they're getting bogged down by at least 40% of the paperwork. And we really want our members out on the street, and I'm sure everybody else does. So what the watch clerk does is takes care of all the housekeeping so that we can have the members out there. So it's one of our supplementals that we had to agree, and it raises it slightly, but it's really important, I think, for our community. So thank you.
Okay, no one else at this point? Okay, Carrie, if you could continue on with the second part of your report.
You bet. So the purpose of this report is to review with Council the operating budget for 2026. So the Financial Sustainability and Audit Committee recommends the attached operating budget to Council. The various components have been discussed at multiple Financial Sustainability and Audit Committee meetings and updates brought to Council as we move through the process. The operating budget has total taxation of $22,458,153 with supplemental requests built in. This is a 2.5% total tax levy increase over 2025. The operating budget overview includes an option recommended by FSAC to reduce major industry taxation, recognizing the challenging environment they are currently operating in and the dependence the city has on major industry. This would bring the final taxation down to $22,128,153, a 1% increase over 2025 if approved. So revised assessments will be received in mid-March that will determine the final taxation rates that will be built into the tax rate bylaw. So I've included my budget overview for Council, which includes departmental sections. It's a good read, and we're open to any questions on it, and also the survey results that we received. And then the recommendation, once we're done, is that council approve the attached operating budget for 2026 of $22,128,153, including the adjustment for major industry and direct staff to continue building the 5-year financial plan based on this budget.
Okay, thank you for that. I have a mover, Councillor McKelvey and Councillor Rudenberg. Any discussion? Are we all in favor? Oh, Councillor Runge.
Well, you knew there'd be discussion for me sometime. Hey, financial team, you know, I can't look you in the eye all right, but I will from out here. You guys did a great job actually putting all this together. It was a major feat. I do have a question, though, with regards to surpluses and reserves. I brought that up last meeting. I'm just wondering where those show up. I see that they show up on page 89 or 90, but I don't see any kind of comments with regards to should we have any reserve coming from this year. And some of the numbers in the report, like they showed 2024 and then 2026 budgeted. And I'm just wondering when we're going to get our final numbers for 2025.
We are working like crazy, but we are not done the 2025 year end yet. We need a few more weeks. I will be bringing the estimated surplus to the first FSAC in March. So then that's when we'll be able to, and we'll still have time to adjust things at that point. And that's when we'll review the reserves and all that as well.
And thank you. And would that be the time if we were to suggest another reserve or a different reserve? Would that be the time to bring it up, or would this be the time to bring it up?
That would be a great time to bring it up when we're talking about all the reserves.
All right, then I'll wait till then. Thank you very much, Mitch, and the whole team. I'm telling you, this was a tough one this year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Runge. Anyone else? I just want to say that you've gone over and above with the way that this information was put together. It's very easy to understand, well presented, and my hat goes off to you and your staff. I'm serious, because it's getting, maybe I'm understanding more quickly, I don't know, but it was a breeze this time, and I know that a lot of hard work went into it. I sat in on all of the FSAC meetings, and it was really, really a team effort, so thank you, everyone. With that, I will call the question. Are we all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on to admin report 2626, development permit DVP 2026-82 577 Willis Street. Director Turner to report.
Thank you, staff or council. This is quite a simple variance. In summary, a home was still cited on, and a building permit was issued. Final inspection was completed, but during that final inspection, it was determined that a overlap over the interior lot line had occurred, and it was going to require a variance. The notice was put out. There's no objections from the public nor objections from staff. So I would just like to go straight into the recommendation. Again, this is a fairly small variance, going from 1.5 meter requirement to the 1.31 meter setback that is going to be permitted by this variance. It is recommended that council approve DVP 2026-82 to vary section 10.3.6B of the City of Quesnel zoning bylaw number 1980/2025 to allow a 1.31 meter interior side yard setback on lot 20, block 1, district lot 704, Caribou District Plan 5363, 577 Willis Street.
Okay, thank you for that. Moved by Councillor Vick, seconded by Councillor Elliott. Any discussion? Oh, Councillor, have I got Councillor Runge? No.
No, I was just going to move it.
Okay. So seeing no questions then, are we all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you for that. The next report is Admin Report 27-26, City of Quesnel Multi-Unit Housing Incentive Amendment Bylaw Number 1983 of 2026. Director Turner to report.
Thank you, Mayor. The multi-unit housing revitalization program was established in 2016. The objectives of that program are to encourage multi-unit residential development that are low environmental impact and in areas of full municipal services, which are nearby amenities and also have access to public transit, to create a broader range of housing options with particular emphasis in providing an increase in adaptable housing units to allow residents to age in place, to attract new community investments in the form of multi-unit housing, and to encourage partnerships between nonprofit housing organizations and developers. 6 applications have been received over the term of this program, totaling 203 units. 3 buildings have been completed under the program with their tax exemption benefits ending in 2028, 2029, and 2032. These buildings also benefit from reduced assessments due to them being nonprofit affordable housing. This has meant that the valuation of the assessed improvements has risen much slower than the cost of construction. However, as the exemption of the tax exemption, the assessed values is more appropriate to be looked at when we're looking at taxation. So that's why we utilize that as the measure. 3 projects are in the process of construction with their benefits to begin over the next couple of years. The assessed value noted in the above table for the Xerox housing project, that is the apartment building being built next to City Hall, was assessed in October 31st, 2025. The full value at completion of this project is expected to bring the assessed value of the improvements under this program close to the cap, as it is a market rental and will not benefit from the reduced assessments through BC assessment. The housing needs assessment completed last year suggests that there remain additional housing need in the community. Since that review, 108 units are in development. However, this is short of the 407 stated need. The current vacancy rate reported in October 2025 is at 2%. This is lower than the recommended rate to show a good housing, especially rental supply. Over the last 10 years, the city has received 315 new housing units added to our inventory. 65% of these have been achieved utilizing the multi-unit incentive program. The amendments that we're recommending from staff is a reduction to is removing the program cap of $20 million while retaining the 2028 deadline. This will allow us to come back in 2028 and assess this program further. Eligible products are also being recommended to change. We're recommending that 3plexes and 4plexes be added to the ineligible projects. This has to do with the move that we have gone through in the zoning bylaw to allow additional 3plexes and 4plexes on most lots in the city. So there's already an expanded ability to obtain some of those units. In the general conditions, we're also recommending that we have a minimum construction value updated to $1 million instead of the $300,000 that was there. Any projects that are going to fit under this program really are at a level that they should be over the $1 million mark. Would you like me to go straight to the recommendation or to? Okay. The recommendation is that council proceeds with initial reading to the multi-unit housing incentive amendment bylaw number 1983, which is included as a draft in your package.
Okay, thank you for that. Moved by Councillor Rudenberg, seconded by Councillor Vic. Is there any questions or discussion or comment? Before we vote, I just want to say that I've always felt a little bit of trepidation over this, but under financial implications, it's indicated that there's a loss of taxation revenue, but the flip side of that, this program attracts investment dollars into multi-residential housing. So I like to think that the positive outweighs the negative. And also, it should be noted as well that this is taxation only for general municipal purposes. Like all of the other taxing for schools and regional district and health and so on and so forth, it's all intact. So we are sort of bearing the brunt of this, but we believe that it's for a good cause. And so now I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you for that. And that motion basically constitutes first reading to that bylaw. Now we're going to move to council information package, and I don't see that anyone has asked anything to come forward. Last call. Okay, moving on to general correspondence. Item number 1 under correspondence, February 2nd, 2026, Caribou Ski Touring Club request for resolution of support. Madam Clerk, if you could just capsulize that and get it into the record, and then we'll call for a motion.
The club will be applying to the Quesnel Community Futures for funding to obtain 2 training rifles for biathlon, and to Northern Development for funds to renovate, update the entire Hallis Lake Lodge water system.
Okay, a motion then for support. Councillor Elliott, Councillor McKelvey, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item number 2, February 2nd, 2026, BC Farmers Market request for letter of support.
More than 67 lower-income households redeemed $28,944 in coupons at Quesnel Farmers Market in 2025. BCAFM does not have the secured funding for the 2026 program season and beyond. They are asking for your support to secure continued funding by providing a letter of support to the Minister of Health, Josie Osborne, demonstrating the importance of continued and expanding funding for this program.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Elliott, you're moving? Sure. And Councillor Rudenberg is seconding. Are we all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And we have one more piece of correspondence to deal with, and that is from the Quesnel Community Arts Council request for a resolution of support.
They'll be applying through the Fabulous Festivals and Events for $2,500 to go towards the Children's Festival on May 30th, 2026.
Okay, Council, you've seen, Councillor Vic, are you moving? You're moving, and Councillor Runge is seconding. And do you have a question, Councillor? Okay, just seconding. Okay, we got that straightened out. So were we all in favor then? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. We have no new business or business arising. Information and question period. We have no changes to upcoming meeting schedule, no changes to committee appointments, announcements and events and/or events. Anyone? Well, I would just say that we really have to pay attention to TV on, I think it's 10:10 a.m. on Thursday when the Team Canada women are going to go up against the USA. So we all know who we will be rooting for. So gallery questions. Do we have any questions from the gallery? George, come on up.
Thank you. 852 Reynard Street, representing the radio station. Just on the budget there was talk of, I think it was $600,000 in cuts, and I don't know if this is to Carrie or Mitch. What are the cuts? Will there be any job losses?
Who wants to handle, you want to handle that, Carrie?
There were a variety of cuts, some to contractors, some to positions were eliminated, and some to reserves. Most of the positions eliminated were through retirements, or they were part-time hours, or it just worked out, but there were some job cuts, yes.
They've all been notified, so can you, like, what areas? So, like, it was seasonal workers, was it?
Yeah, it was spread around. So there was some exempt staff, there was some public works, there was a bylaw officer. Yeah, just it was spread all around.
Okay. Do we know how many?
It was approximately 5.2, I believe it was the number. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then the only other question I have is with the watch, I forget the positions at the RCMP, watch clerks. How many watch clerks will there be?
We are adding 4. It'll be the removal of 2 current admin positions there and adding 4, so a net increase of 2 positions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, George. Any more questions from the gallery? Come on up, RJ. We want your name, rank, and serial number.
I will. My name is R.J. Prue, and I hope I'm in a legal part of the meeting, Your Worship, because you mentioned at the beginning about Tumbler Ridge and the disaster that happens there. As you probably know by now, there is a big fundraiser. Am I okay to speak about it?
Well, technically you're not, but you've got a pretty good start on it, so I'll let you keep going.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's a fund that's been raised, and I'm sure you all know about it. Anyway, we're up to $80,000 as of a couple of days ago. And I went to our credit union, and we have an open account for donation. And the reason why I opened this account is people like me who do not have computers or cell phone that they can donate directly. Our credit union manager has opened an account, and I put what I could afford into it. And there are many more people like me who do not have the facility that you good people all have, meaning cell phone again. So please donate as much as you can afford, and I thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you for your question, RJ. And the question was, do you think it's a good idea? And I said, yes, it is a wonderful idea, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any further business for good of council and for the good of the city? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Councillor Elliott, it looked like you're in favor of that one. Councillor McKelvey, all in favor, opposed, and thank you again, Denae.